This is Cecile Truver. She is the director of radiology at Bolingbrook Medical Center and has been at Bolingbrook for over 30 years. She never imagined that a crisis like the pandemic would arrive at her door.
So I think the hardest part of the pandemic was when the governor enacted the stay-at-home order. I did not know how it was going to impact my associates or our families at the time. It was very difficult. There was a lot of uncertainty I haven't felt since 9/11. You came into work every day not sure if you were going to come home and bring this disease home to your families. Watching my team go into a room to take care of a patient, the questions were always reeling in my head. Did they do everything that they could to protect themselves? Your job is to protect your team. And it's not like you could work from home. You had to be there with them. They were in the thick of things. You had to show them you were there to support them at every turn. The biggest thing for me was my faith. My faith kept me going to work every day. I started every morning in prayer, just praying for protection for my team, for the hospital, and just making sure that we were going to come home every day safe and not bring this disease home to our family. That was the biggest thing. It was faith over fear every day. Just continual prayer and just making sure that we were doing our best to keep each other safe. I think the biggest thing I can remember, or most inspiring thing I remember, was seeing a patient go home after weeks in the ICU. All the associates gathered in the lobby to watch this patient go home, and what was really amazing was watching us all pray over this family as they received their family member back home. It was God's miracle to see this.
This is Michael Kindom, a chaplain at Hinsdale Hospital. He has worked at Hinsdale for 2 years. Just months before the pandemic, he moved from Glendale, California with his wife and newborn daughter.
When COVID hit, the fear was absolutely real. I was terrified to go into COVID patients' rooms. There was a lot of concern around the time about taking COVID home to our families, and this was a real source of fear for me and my family. Working as a healthcare chaplain during these last 18 months has taken a toll on me emotionally, physically, as well as mentally. I found that I needed help, so I looked to my system for the Employee Assistance Program and went through counseling sessions, and that I found really helped me. I recall at one time that I was paged to an emergency department in the Glen Oaks campus, and the patient was an elderly person who had COVID, and their family member was not allowed to go into the room. So we had offered to connect him virtually to his mother, and as I offered the final blessing for this lady, she was deemed to be not oriented and not alert. So this was mainly for the family. But when we put the device right before her eyes so that she can see her son in tears was saying his final goodbye. After the visit, her vitals started to go down very rapidly. 10 minutes after I had left the hospital, the manager of the emergency department gave me a call, and he said that she had passed away. She realized that this was her son saying goodbye, and she was able to pass away peacefully.
This is Sheila Short. Sheila has worked as a physical therapist at Hinsdale Hospital for the last 8.5 years. When the pandemic hit, Sheila was 5 months pregnant. Her friends and family all tried to convince her to stay home until after she gave birth, but she was driven to continue working by a strong desire to care for her patients.
seeing patients struggling through different things, everybody kind of handling it differently. I knew for me, going to work was the right answer. I can also say that returning to work right after the maternity leave did not lessen the stress because now it was a whole different type of worry, where now I was worrying about nursing or, cuddling or snuggling with my son, what I was bringing home to him. Those were probably the biggest concerns for me. I think even to this day, every single time I go into a patient's room, I think to myself, is my mask fully sealed? Is any skin exposed? Am I fully, protected with the PPE? And then I think to myself, can somebody else pick up my son from daycare so that I can get straight home to a shower or to throw my clothes in the washing machine? My source of strength was definitely my faith. My faith in God, my faith in medicine, my faith in my profession, and absolutely my faith in my coworkers and the first responders. I thank God every day for my coworkers, and especially one in particular. I have one coworker who is one of the many true heroes that has really directly impacted me. She has taken COVID patients head on from the very beginning. We had, I believe, 4 coworkers that were pregnant at the time, so all of us could not go in the rooms initially, and she continued to go in those rooms day after day. She actually lost 3 of her close family members within a 6-week period of time to COVID. And even to this day, she still takes the initiative to go in those rooms regularly to try to limit, as much as she can, the other coworkers' unnecessary exposure.
This is Lois Berg, a nurse manager at Bolingbrook Medical Center. She manages the recovery room, same-day surgery, and endoscopy department. She has been at Bolingbrook since January of 2008. At the onset of the pandemic, elective surgeries were halted, and Lois activated her staff to help the departments in greatest need.
There was a lot of anxiety. There still is anxiety caring for COVID patients because nobody wants to get sick, no one wants to feel lousy, and nobody wants to bring a disease home to their family and loved ones. But it's been a tricky time. We had to navigate nurses being uncomfortable, and we had to navigate having the right staff, the right number of staff to maintain safe levels of staffing in my areas, and then also rotate through our helping out the other departments. So our staffing challenges were real tricky at the peak of COVID. It was a difficult time for everyone. And nurses wanted to be safe, nurses wanted to keep their families safe, and of course we wanted to keep our patients safe. I have such a remarkable staff. We all felt a loyalty and a sense of duty to our patients and to the hospital. We love our hospital, we love our department, we love our coworkers. And I think I kept coming back just because I was in it with my staff. We were all a team. Our spiritual emphasis was on the land between. And we really felt like even now we're in the land between with COVID. But with such a wonderful group of faithful workers, I'm blessed. I'm blessed that I have the employees that I have. We pitch in, we help each other. My group of nurses do a wonderful job of helping relieve patients' anxiety, whether it's through prayer or holding a hand or a quick hug or doing something humorous just to help lighten the mood in the room. Our nurses here have a good sense of what's going to help the patient before they go in for a procedure.
So I'm wondering, when was the last time you were at an airport and discovered that your flight was delayed. I mean, you go up to that place where the flights are posted and you see on time, on time, on time, delayed. And that delayed flight is yours. But how long will it be delayed for? How long will you be sitting there or standing there waiting to board? And sometimes they know, and sometimes they don't. It might be an hour. It might be 2 hours. It might be 4 hours. You might have to come back the next day. But that's the question of a delay, isn't it? It's the question, how long? There's a song in our Bible. I mean, we call it Psalm 13, and it is credited to King David of Jerusalem. And this song opens abruptly with the two-word question, how long? Listen to it. David will ask this question 4 times in 2 verses. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? How long, how long, how long, how long? This is the cry of someone who is worn out from waiting. And if you find yourself navigating desert space, the land between, I'm guessing that question, how long, might be your question, a question that occurs to you. How long will we be making offers on houses to discover that we've been outbid by somebody else? How long will I be applying for another position within my organization to discover that they've once again selected somebody else? How long? How long? How long will I be wrestling with this habit, with this addiction? How long? It's the question of those who are worn out from waiting. And I think the question, how long, is very appropriate for a group of people we see crossing the wilderness in the early pages of our Bible. The Israelites, they leave Egypt, the land of slavery, and they're headed to a place called Canaan, the land promised to their ancestors. Now, it does not take that many weeks to get from Egypt to Canaan. But the Israelites, they are in the desert for years. Why? And I think a short but accurate answer is that they are in trust school. You see, when they leave Egypt, they do not leave Egypt as a well-ordered group of God followers. They depart Egypt, they exit Egypt as an unruly mob of ex-slaves, indoctrinated in generations of Egyptian idol worship. And they're headed over to Canaan, where they're supposed to be representatives of the one Creator God of the universe, and they don't know Him. And I know that they don't trust Him. And so the desert space, the wilderness, the land between, they're in trust school. It's as if God is whispering again and again, trust me. When you run out of water, trust me. When you run out of food, trust me. If you hear the rattling of Pharaoh's chariot wheels heading in your direction, I need you to trust me. Trust me in your waiting. Back to that song, Psalm 13, where King David asks 4 times, how long, how long, how long? Just a couple verses later, he says, but I trust in your unfailing love. God, I don't like this waiting. How long am I going to be here? But I'll trust you. Now remember, this is one of the most powerful prayers that we can offer when we're navigating the wilderness of the land between. It's just a simple prayer that goes, God, I don't like this space, I don't want this space, and I don't understand this space. But I will trust you in this space, or help me trust you in this space. What I'm trying to say is this, that the desert, the terrain that we loathe, the real estate that we hate, has the opportunity of producing the crop that we need. See, the desert can be a greenhouse for trust to grow. And so if you're traveling through the land between today, my prayer for you is that God would meet you in this space, that He would sustain you each and every day of your waiting, and that for you, this desert space would be a greenhouse for faith to grow.
Beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is! What a beautiful name it is! The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. Didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a wonderful name it is. Nothing compares to this. beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus.
We're all in this together. How many times have we heard that phrase over the past few months? It may sound good, but the painful reality is few of us feel together. Instead, we feel isolated and lonely. Loneliness has been a growing mental health epidemic for years, but now we're experiencing it more than ever. While some crises can bring us together, this one has separated us. We see each other on computer screens or from behind a mask. We practice social distancing, and as a result, we don't feel social, but distant. Earlier this year, as the shutdown orders were just being implemented, I moved from Denver to Kansas City to begin working in a new role. My wife stayed behind in Denver to finish her job and sell our house. I was alone, apart not only from my soulmate, but also from a social network of 20 plus years. While I was surrounded by a wonderful team, there were times when I felt isolated and alone. The Apostle Paul was no stranger to this feeling. At the end of his life, he was confined to a Roman prison. He had been abandoned and betrayed. In his loneliness, he wrote a letter to his dear friend Timothy. 2,000 years later, you could still hear his pain. He wrote, "Do your best to come to me quickly, for Demas has deserted me, Crescens has gone to Galatia, and Titus to Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. At my first offense, no one came to my support, but everyone deserted me. But the Lord stood at my side and gave me strength." There are lessons we can learn from Paul's experience. First, we may all feel loneliness at times due to circumstances out of our control. We may not be in prison, but issues like distance, loss of a loved one, or stay-at-home orders can all add to our loneliness. But Paul's experience also reminds us that God will be a source of strength. He wrote, "The Lord stood at my side and gave me strength." So how can we tap into God's strength when we're feeling alone? First, recognize when you're lonely. For some reason, none of us like to admit to being lonely. There's a stigma attached to it, so we mask our feelings by telling ourselves we're tired or burned out. Or we don't think we could be lonely because we're constantly surrounded by people. But loneliness isn't about being alone, but more about feeling disconnected, isolated, or that you don't belong. So the first step to address our loneliness is to recognize when we're feeling disconnected or that we don't belong. Second, talk to God. He is always there for you. You could talk to Him and tell Him how you're feeling, and be confident He is with you, and He hears you, and He cares for you. Third, intentionally connect with others. It's easy to fall into a cycle of isolation. We feel disconnected from others, and therefore we stay disconnected. It takes a lot of energy to be positive and engage those around us. But it's exactly what we need to do. Smile at people. Say hello. Give someone a call. Break the cycle of loneliness by intentionally reaching out. Finally, lean into your workplace relationships. This has been key for me during these past months of being in a new place. I'm surrounded by good people 40+ hours a week. I'm investing in relationships with these people I work with, and those relationships are feeding my soul and filling my cup. God wired us all for connection. When you feel like loneliness is setting in, recognize it, actively engage others, and tell God about it. He will give you the comfort and strength you're longing for.